All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to tackle one of those super tricky parts of English, the future. I'm talking about will versus going to. The basic rules might seem simple, but oh boy, the reality is way more interesting.
So, here's the big question for today, with a little grammar joke built in. By the end of this, will you finally understand the difference? Or are you going to? Let's find out, shall we?
Okay, first things first. If will and going to have ever made you want to pull your hair out, trust me, you are not alone. It's a classic headache for English learners, and there's a good reason why. What you learn in the book just doesn't always line up with how real people talk. And that's really the heart of the problem, isn't it? You memorize these rules, you go out into the world to use them, and then you hear native speakers just breaking them all the time. So yeah, what the textbooks tell you, that's really just chapter 1.
But look, before we dive into all the messy, real-world stuff, we've got to start with the foundation. Let's do a quick run-through of those 2 classic rules you probably learned in class.
So rule number 1 is all about decisions. We're taught that you use will for those spur-of-the-moment choices. The ones you make right as you're speaking. On the other hand, going to is for plans, things you'd already decided to do before you even open your mouth.
Here's a perfect example. Julie says, "Hey, there's no milk." John had no idea, so right then and there, he decides to fix the problem. It's a spontaneous reaction, so he says, "I'll go and get some." See? Decision made on the spot.
But now, let's flip it. In this version, John already knew they were out of milk. He had a plan. So when Julie mentions it, he's just confirming his intention. He says, "I know, I'm going to go and get some." That decision was already in his head.
All right, the second big rule is about making predictions. We use will when we're just giving our personal opinion, like a gut feeling. I think this team will win. But if you have evidence right in front of your eyes, say you look up and see huge dark clouds, you use going to. It's going to rain.
So there you have it, the textbook rules. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, this is where we get to the fun part, the reality check, where it all gets beautifully, wonderfully messy. And this right here is the most important thing to get. Out in the real world, those neat lines get super blurry. It can feel like native speakers are just ignoring the rules completely. And honestly, that's because they're not really hard and fast rules. They're more like strong suggestions.
This really hits the nail on the head. One expert put it perfectly. This isn't some unbreakable law of grammar. A lot of the time, both will and going to are totally correct. The choice just comes down to a subtle feeling, a little bit of nuance.
Okay, this restaurant example is absolutely perfect for showing this. Imagine you're looking at the menu, talking to your friend. You're forming a plan, right? So you might say, I think I'm going to have the fish. But then, when the waiter comes over, you make it official. It's a decision in that moment. Yes, I'll have the fish. See how the same choice can be both a plan and a spontaneous decision, just seconds apart? It's all about context.
Okay, so if the rules can be bent and the lines are so blurry, what are you supposed to do? What should you actually focus on? Well, let's get into some real, practical advice.
Now this is a big one, and it's backed up by data. When researchers actually analyze how people talk and write, will is way more common than going to, in almost every situation. So here's your practical takeaway. When in doubt, just go with will. Statistically, it's probably the right call.
All right, let's put this to the test. Quick practice round. Take a look at this sentence. Based on what we've talked about, what do you think goes in that blank?
Did you say going to? You got it. Why? Because this isn't just a random guess. It's a prediction based on something you can see right now. That big black cloud. It's evidence.
Okay, let's try one more. How about this one? Someone can't open a jar, and you want to help them out. What do you say?
Yep, it's I'll do it. This is the textbook case for using will. It's an offer to help, and it's a decision you're making right on the spot. Classic. All right, ready for an expert-level tip? Sometimes the most natural-sounding choice isn't will or going to at all. It's something else. For really definite plans, especially with verbs like come and go, we often just use the present continuous. For instance, saying he isn't coming to the party just sounds a little more natural to a native ear than he isn't going to come.
Whew, okay, we've gone from the simple textbook rules all the way to the complicated, messy reality. So let's bring it all home. Let's wrap this up with a simple guide that you can actually take with you and use.
And here you go. Think of this as your personal cheat sheet. It breaks down the main feeling behind each word. Is it a spontaneous choice or a plan? Is it a gut feeling or is it based on evidence? Is it a promise or just a process?
Seriously, you might want to screenshot this one. It's super useful.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Honestly, don't stress about being perfect. The real goal here is just to communicate. Getting the feeling and the nuance right is so much more important than perfectly memorizing a rulebook. Because 99% of the time, people are going to know exactly what you mean, either way.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you get the nuance, how will you talk about your plans for tomorrow? Or how are you going to? The choice is all yours. Thanks for digging into this with me.